Good afternoon, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. And we're gonna do the pledge of allegiance again. Please, everybody, stand. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Roll call, please.
Director Quady. Director McMillan. Here. Director Bacala is absent. Director Robert.
Here.
Director Avila.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. Item 2 is public comments. This portion of the agenda may be utilized by any member of the public to address the board of directors on any matter within the jurisdiction of the board that does not appear on the agenda, and on matters that are on the agenda but are not designated as action items. Depending on the subject matter, the board of directors may be unable to respond at this time or until the specific topic is placed on the agenda at a future CMWD board meeting. In accordance with the Brown Act, please limit remarks to 3 minutes. If you would like to make a comment or have a question, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see anything. And this time, I would like to open our board meeting in remembrance of Steve Blois, our past president here on the board. Calleguas once saddened to learn of the passing of former board president Steve Blois on October 26, 2025, due to complications from mesothelioma. Steve was born November 23rd, 1951 in Phoenix, Arizona. He graduated with a degree in industrial engineering from Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo in 1973. He settled in Camarillo in 1978 with his first wife, Barbara Ray Blois. They had 2 children, Jessica Blois and Jamie Blois. He married the love of his wife, Brenda Kennedy Blois, in 2022, and they split their time between Lake Nacimiento and Goleta. Steve spent his career setting the foundation for and leading Blois Construction, a heavy civil construction contractor, before retiring in 2003. After retirement, he established Valley Vista Consulting, serving the construction industry with his knowledge and experience, and stayed involved with numerous construction-related trade organizations. While serving on the Calleguas board from 2014 to 2022, he brought his love and knowledge of construction to the role. During his tenure, Calleguas completed numerous noteworthy critical infrastructure projects, including the 10 megawatt wellfield emergency generators, Granton Pump Station Phase 2, an interconnection with Crestview Mutual Water Company, and numerous phases of the innovative salinity pipeline. As a high school senior, Steve was an exchange student in Germany with the American Field Service Intercultural Program. As an adult, he was active for many years in AFS programs in California, serving as the host family for young students and helping support student placement and programming. Calleguas extends its deepest condolences to the Steve Blois family. He left an incredible mark on Calleguas, specifically, and the water community more broadly, and his contributions to water will resonate for decades to come. So I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit about, when I first joined the board. Steve was the first board member to call me and congratulate me. He was an incredible person, really true mentor to me. I shadowed him and followed him around at all the aquas. It was incredible to see the conferences, how he knew absolutely everybody, and he introduced me to everybody. I don't remember all those names all those people he introduced me to. He was incredibly smart and he remembered everything. He knew everybody and everybody knew him. He and I talked quite a bit about Calleguas, and I told Christina I was going to share this. The first thing he ever told me was, "Welcome to Calleguas, where we like to gold plate everything." And those were his first words to me. I learned so much from him. He was an incredible person, and I still talk to him. He still helped me out with some things here on the board, and mentored me, and gave me guidance on topics here on our board, even up to, I think, 2 or 3 months ago was the latest time I talked to him. And he still sounded very strong. I had no idea anything was going on, but we'll miss him. Would the other board members like to say anything? Scott?
Well, I can just say that the last time I saw Steve was at the dedication of meeting place at Las Virgenes. And it's kind of funny actually, because he was a contractor. I was at Las Virgenes. And so, and we also went to Cal Poly SLO, and he was upperclassman to me. So at one point I did tell him, I said, you know, one of the reasons I have to be nice to you is because you're an upperclassman. And he said, that's right. We could banter each other. It was fun. And he was an easygoing guy. And with the dedication of the Peterson event, I didn't have any clue at all that there was anything wrong. And as much as I go up to the Central Coast, I really did hope to see him up there sometime, just to bump into him, because we would go over to Paso Robles near where Nacimiento is, and I really did expect to see him again. But so yeah, it's a shock to me, and I'm sorry we didn't get to have more fun. But he did a lot. We shared stories about Las Virgenes and mutually known people and events. I was at Las Virgenes, and it was fun to know him. So I'm shocked, but you will be missed. And yeah, thank you for allowing me that.
Thank you, Director Quavy. Anybody else like to say anything from the board?
Do any of the Las Virgenes board members present want to share anything?
We actually adjourned our meeting yesterday in his name.
Do you mind coming up to the podium, Director Bernaschi, just because there's not mics in the back there.
We adjourned the meeting yesterday, our board meeting yesterday in his name. I didn't know him as nearly as well as all you did, but I knew him a little. We had a couple of beers and we had a couple of laughs, and he was smart and he was kind, and I'm just absolutely shocked. We're all absolutely shocked.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Henry?
Thank you, President Avila. Henry Bromlick, Executive Strategist. So it was a real pleasure to work with Steve. When he was on the Metropolitan Board, Steve and I would ride the Metrolink down to Met. And about the first 15 minutes was just kind of hot gossip about the board members and what was going on in his life. And then we would shift over to something like the exciting origins of Dig Alert. He thought that was such a great company. And then we would gradually get around to what we were going to do down at Met. And he had lots of ideas. And most of them start with, well, we have to set them straight on this. And I would talk to him and said, well, you know, let's think about how to be really effective on that. And I said, can you think of a question that you could ask that we know how the other Met directors would respond? And then, you know, maybe we could set in process a dialogue that would get to what it was that you wanted to get to. And he found that to be a great game. And he played it well. And he was very effective down at Metropolitan. He even made a run for the chair of Metropolitan in 2018. Came close, but gradually realized the votes were going to go to then Director Gray, who became the board chair at that time. So in preparing for this, I have a couple brief things to share. I found a letter that Director Blois wrote in 2016. And Metropolitan was trying to figure out how to integrate all of its different supplies to make it climate resilient, which is exactly what they're doing today. And what struck me was how clear and concise and how time has borne out the perspective that he was able to provide, the consistency and continuity of Calleguas's perspective. He has just a few bullet points. One is that anything should be evaluated in terms of cost effectiveness in return for reliability goals, something that Director McMillan has carried on in terms of addressing. The second bullet is interesting. He said that Metropolitan should address regional system constraints. That is the inability to supply water to the state water project dependent areas. And remind you, this was in 2016. So we were well in advance on that issue. He also talked about that he thought that additional interagency partnerships between the member agencies to develop local resources would be really the path of the future, something that we're seeing right now in the framework of increased. So he was a visionary of sorts and very consistent with where the board is now. Then finally, I wanted to share one story that illustrates his mischievousness, which he enjoyed quite a bit. And I'll take you back to a time when the San Diego County Water Authority had been over in a decade of litigation with Metropolitan. The relationships were very strained. Everything felt like you were talking to their lawyers when you talked to their directors. And I was looking through the San Diego County Water Authority board agenda, and we found an item that they were going to spend a couple $100,000 to hire a consultant whose purpose was to come up and influence Calleguas. So we thought that was a little fun. And so the two of us concocted a plot, so to speak, where he would go down in public comments and address the Water Authority Board directly. And so we did. We went down the night before. He showed up at the podium and said, well, I read with interest this item that you have where you're going to try to influence Calleguas. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm right here and you can talk to me anytime you want. And there was a ripple of consternation that went through the Water Authority Board because they weren't expecting to have the director who they were trying to influence come right down, make the trip to San Diego and offer to talk to them anytime they wanted. And of course, being Steve, he said, you can save the money that you would pay the consultant. You don't need to do that. They went ahead and paid the consultant. I think the prospect of having Steve there was a little unsettling. Luckily, and I'm happy to say that those days are beyond us. We have good relations with the Water Authority, but he was right there in the middle of a time that was very tense and ready to go and make that personal contact that he was so well known for. So those are my memories of Steve.
Thank you, Henry. Those are some incredible memories.
Well, I was manager of engineering for actually, I think all the time that Steve was on the board. And since he was a fellow engineer and had come from the contracting side of things, he always brought a really interesting and I would say very balanced perspective about how public agencies should interact with contractors. He very much was on board with our approach to contractors, which is to be tough but fair. He also proposed a number of improvements to how we handled certain things, like change order approval processes that made it much easier, frankly, on engineering staff and serve the project better, as well as he was a key instigator in the development of the capital project evaluation process that we have now to help us prioritize capital projects. He loved going out in the field and seeing facilities both under construction and after they were constructed. Whenever we would go out to do, we'd usually do a tour as part of an engineering and construction committee meeting when we'd be updating the committee on the CIP. You'd have to keep a close eye on him because he was definitely around the corner, you know, flipping levers and touching SCADA screens, make sure he didn't get himself into too much trouble. We had one out at the well-field emergency generators. And of course, when we planned the meeting, we had no idea it was going to be absolute deluge. And we had mud and we couldn't even like drive our vehicles as close to the facilities we'd planned. The road wasn't paved yet. But he and the other committee member all gamely put on rubber boots and tromped through the mud. And frankly, I can't imagine anyone looking happier to be doing that than he was. He was always really supportive of engineering staff and staff in general, although he never let us off easy. He definitely knew how to tell a good story. And probably what I appreciated most was how proud he was of his daughters and what they had accomplished. So I'm glad he had the last 3 years since he retired from our board to spend more time with his family. That was why he stepped away. He loved water, he loved Calleguas and Met, but he just felt he couldn't do both and spend time doing the other things that he really wanted to do in terms of traveling and spending time with family. So I'm glad he had that time, and he will be remembered here and missed.
Thank you, Christine.
Which meeting?
So with that being said, there's one other thing I would like to do. I would like staff to look at facilities that we can remember him by, possibly naming something after him, and if staff could bring some ideas back to the board.
Absolutely. We'd be happy to do so.
Thank you. With that, we are moving on to items to be added to the agenda. No items. Okay. Review of the agenda. Has the board had time to review the agenda? Okay. Item 5, presentations. Presentation of Ben Flores promotion to water distribution operator.
Yes, sir. Manager Operations and Maintenance, Omar Castro will be finding the presentation.
Good afternoon, members of the board. So today I'm pleased to recognize 2 outstanding staff members for their professional achievements. The first is Ben Flores, who has recently been promoted to Operations Division as the water distribution operator at the treatment plant. Ben began his career with the district in January of 2022 as maintenance worker 1. From the outset, he demonstrated a strong commitment to learning the intricacies of the system maintenance operation and pursuing professional development through his certification. In April of 22, Ben earned his Water Distribution 1 certificate, followed by his Water Distribution 2 certificate in December of the same year, both accomplished with determination and focus. In January of 23, Ben was promoted to System Maintenance Worker 2, where he continued to exhibit a passion for growth and a readiness to embrace new challenges. And he frequently volunteered to fill in at the treatment plant and gaining a little bit more knowledge, technical knowledge of the treatment plant and experience. In September of this year, Ben was promoted to the water distribution operator position at the treatment plant. In this role, he continues to thrive, taking on increased responsibilities and continuing to help with the overall team success. And just this week, Ben has also completed his D3 Water Distribution 3 certification. So Ben's dedication and initiative are commendable, and we're proud to celebrate his continued success.
Great work, Ben. Keep up all the good work. Thank you. Okay, and up next, we have recognition of Casey Versty, senior operator for completion of bachelor's degree in leadership studies from California State Polytechnic University, Humboldt.
Once again, I have the honor to stand up here and recognize Casey. In August of 23, Casey embarked on his academic journey towards his bachelor's degree in leadership studies at Cal Polytechnic University, Humboldt. So despite the demands of a rotating shift as a treatment operator, filling in for extra shifts, Casey remained steadfast in his commitment to his higher education. His dedication culminated in July of 25, where he successfully completed all program requirements and was awarded his bachelor's degree. So please join me in congratulating Casey in his successful completion of his bachelor's degree.
Congratulations. Okay, up next, we have the consent calendar. Has everybody had time to review the consent calendar, and would anybody like to pull any of the items out for questions or comments? Motion,
So moved.
second?
Second.
Here we go, first and second, roll call, please.
Director Quady,
Aye.
Director McMillan,
Yes.
Director Pacala is absent, Director Robert,
Yes.
Director Avila.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Up next, we have the action items. We don't have any action today. Next is reports, monthly status report.
Yes, staff will be highlighting items 2, 12, 36, 65 and 71, that's combined, and 80.
Okay. It's
All right, Ian's got the first one for us.
You know, I'm gonna ask Wes, I'm gonna ask you to press a second button in just a second. All right, so we are talking about regional exchange framework. And first of all, when we talk about exchange of water, I have a little diagram here that I hope will help explain a little bit. If you can imagine, those are plates, not of Skittles, but of M&Ms. Very important difference. What we're trying to do with with an exchange framework or an exchange program is get water from the green M&Ms into the red M&M stack. But there's no direct connection between those two water agencies or plates of M&Ms. So take it away, Wes. What you do is you take a stack of M&Ms from plate 1, plate 2, an equal amount of M&Ms from plate 2 into plate 3. And then the agency eating the red M&Ms on plate 3 pays for additional water, green M&Ms to backfill plate 1. It's the basic concept of the exchange program. So we're moving, as Christine likes to say, if we can't move the molecules of water, we can move the benefit of those molecules between agencies. Seems very straightforward, but there are a lot of considerations that go into that. So developing framework to make that policy possible is what this study that we are in the middle of is intended to do. A large part of the reason that we're doing this is because some of our purveyors have project ideas that would benefit. They could build some projects, they build some projects bigger if they could exchange water and get investment from agencies that weren't next to each other, that weren't going to get those molecules of water, but may want to invest in the development of local resources to get additional benefit, local resource benefit. So some purveyors asked us to do that. We've identified some projects in the RIST that would potentially benefit from this. And the study itself is identified in the water resource implementation strategy as a no regret action. So it's one of the first things we're doing after the finalization of phase 1 of the RIST report. We had a bunch of folks. We had a full room. They were all very engaged. Woodard and Curran is our consultant that's working on this, and they had representation there. But Christine and I, and with Henry's involvement, led that workshop. And we got a lot of really interesting feedback that we are taking back kind of into the huddle and further developing the framework, weighing things like opportunities and potential concerns, and really what the most important thing to those that are participating and those that may be downstream from organizations that are participating, what are most important to them. So that's kind of a dispatch from the first workshop of the regional exchange framework. It went well so far.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Ian? Okay, thank you, Ian. Moving on to item 12.
Board, it is my pleasure to present item 12, our participation at the Simi Valley Street Fair that occurred. We did have staff across O&M, Water Resources, External Affairs that participated and helped on that day. It is a full day event. I will mention the hours run from approximately 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., excuse me. And so it is a full day event, and it allowed the opportunity for a lot of our staff to become involved on that day. They do estimate approximately 20,000 in attendance at the event because this is an annual event that occurs every year and twice a year. So a lot of people know that it's coming around, and there's large amounts of participation on that day. We did see, and this is an estimate, of course, it's hard to gauge, approximately 800 to 1,000 visitors to our booth. I was there in the morning, so I utilized kind of just my visual cues for that day. It was very busy, in the amount of giveaways that were gone by the time that it hit 12. Poppy seeds were extremely popular. Of course, candy, actually, we ran really low. At some point, had to coordinate an additional candy drop off thanks to staff. And we were located in the City Expo location near City and county services, which offered just an exceptional amount of participation from residents passing by. Just some common questions that we received were obviously for the turf replacement rebate, some new homeowners. Actually, I actually remember a few that came by that were surprised to know about the toilet rebate, for example, and some other additional opportunities that they were able to take advantage of. We did get questions about water supply, where their water comes from, that connection of who we are in the water space, which is always great to explain to a resident that's coming by. And just general questions of their water supply. We also had residents interested in potentially tours. So we had a few that did come by and recognize our site. So they, had additional questions about that. And then the last bullet point, just highlighting that we did participate in what they offered as far as the Halloween theme booth decoration contest. Somebody came by to take a picture of our booth. I don't know where we landed on that, but it was just exciting to be recognized for our decorations and the spirit on that day. And then, of course, they had a scavenger hunt stamp card, which made it very engaging because people went around finding the stamp for Calleguas. So just featuring those. I did want to give an opportunity to shout out those that participated on that day really quickly from staff. We had Fernando Ferrer, Giovanni Galindo, Kat Errett, Tito Ramos, Alex Raby, and David Vaca. So those were the staff that participated on that day, and I'm very thankful for them. The schedule for our shifts came really smoothly because of their great participation that they offered their time on a Saturday. So thank you.
Incredible. Thank you, Jen, and thank you all the staff that was there. It was incredible. I did swing by here and there throughout the day and spend some time with staff, talking to the customers, and my wife made some balloons for our booth. So
Beautiful.
it's a great job by staff, and every time I passed by, every time I was hanging out there was always people there. There was a line of people wanting to talk, bags. They liked the Calleguas bags and the poppy seeds, but great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen. Next one, Tim Powers, Senior Project Manager, will be talking about item 36.
Good afternoon. I wanted to talk about the networking center relocation and administration building storage room. It's quite a mouthful, Project 620, but it's an important project that we have here at the district. relocating a new networking center, important part of basically the brain of our distribution and water treatment facility. This new networking center, as wonderful it's going to be, requires a new circuit breaker. And this circuit breaker had to go in a very particular piece of switchgear that powers basically the entire Lake Board water filtration plant. So for us to safely do that work, we were forced to turn off all electrical power to that particular piece of switchgear in order to do that. And basically, with the work, with the coordination of O&M and IT, as well as engineering staff, we were able to identify, locate the various computer systems, PLCs throughout the treatment plant that needed to be powered down prior to us really flipping the big switch and cutting off all of the power so we could safely remove power. And then also communicate with staff that would be affected by it. As a matter of fact, this building that we're in right now is powered from that same switchgear. So if you came to work that day when we turned everything off on Friday, there was no electricity in this building or any of the others. As you can see in the bottom left corner, there's a picture. That's our operations center right there. And normally we wouldn't be allowed to take that picture, but all of the computers are off right now. So it just is a bunch of screens right there. The operations center was relocated to our emergency operations center at the Conejo pump station, a facility whose power remained on. All of the electricity that comes to this facility is distributed through some switchgear that is in the generator building. You can see a picture there of Mark Bellinger. He's a senior control technician. He's wearing basically what's called a 40 cal suit. It is the ultimate in PPE protection for people who are flipping very big switches with lots of current and lots of voltage. And so he's the one who went ahead and disconnected or opened that circuit breaker and allowed us to make the improvements to the switchgear that will basically provide the feeder circuit to the new networking center. So we had staff working basically remotely for the day on Friday here that didn't have to be on site with the anticipation it was going to take up to 12 hours, but good news, it was all done by 3 p.m. on a Friday, and we were able to get operations staff back located to the control building by 3 p.m. And most important, water delivery impacts were zero during this process. So our customers had no idea that we turned all of the power off here at the water filtration plant. So yeah, so I was very excited. It's a big step in the right direction and important for us, particularly given that the plant will be in heavy operation this winter, and so we need to make those improvements before that started. Thank you.
Thanks, Tiff.
Just one question. Is this one of the applications of the chicken switches?
So there is a chicken switch on the floor
I think we
right
should probably explain what a chicken switch
on the floor right there.
were harmed during the shutdown.
So at a high level, there is the opening of the breaker or the closing of the breaker, and rather than somebody being right there at that switch to turn, because that's kind of one of the most dangerous points, they have a mechanical means basically of flicking the switch, and so the chicken switch is that mechanical mechanism with a button that somebody could stand 10 feet or 20 feet away and click and open it. So he is the chicken switch, I think, had already been used at that point, and now what he's doing is he's unracking basically the breaker out of the switch gear there to really, because you can open it and close it, but you can't lock out and tag it out unless you de-rack the breaker. And so he's removing it from there so that we were able to put the lockout tag out safety.
You can't turn it back on if it's not there.
Exactly.
All right. Number 65 and 71.
Yes, Amy Mueller, our regulatory compliance supervisor, will be presenting these items.
Good afternoon. Hey, how's it going? We had the recent opportunity to have a Canadian company called Deep Trekker out. And what they brought with this is remotely operated vehicles. They were demoing two. First one is a robot that can basically swim, a rover, they like to call it. And so one of the applicabilities is to do drinking water reservation or reservoir inspections. So we went out to the well field with them and our staff got to drive it around. We went in the Grimes Canyon Reservoir and we were really impressed with how it worked. And then we took an opportunity that the treatment plant was offline and dewatered because they have another ROV called the crawler. So the application there is more for dewatered pipes and things. So we put the crawler in the dewatered pipe. And then we really pushed it even harder and we wanted to see if it could go in the underbelly of our filters, challenge it a little bit, and it did great. So the second picture there, you can actually see is what you can see on the screen when you're driving the rover. So it was pretty impressive. It was able to get around a lot of the obstacles. So our current operations for reservoir inspections are dewatering. So it's quite a process. Takes about 6 days, 6 staff members. The process is dewater, inspect, disinfect, and then refill. So it's a lot of work. It's resource intensive. Not only that, but operators can lower the reservoir level only to a certain amount. We still have millions of gallons of water that we discharge to storm drain. So it's wasteful. And then also going in the reservoirs. I mean, sometimes we have to do it, but it's a confined space, so it's a safety risk and hazard. So we're thinking that we should just purchase, instead of taking a reservoir out of service for 6 days, why not do it for 6 hours? Because that's how long it would take to do an inspection of our tanks. So we're working on moving towards that direction in this operations. So we're hoping to purchase the one that does the tank inspections and then have Deep Trekker come out and train our staff.
That's great. That was gonna ask. That was my question. Anybody else have a question?
How much does it cost?
How much does it cost? So the crawler is like 8,000. We're not going to do that one right now, but the pivot, the one that we're looking at for the tank inspection is about 38,000. So yeah, and I think to get like divers in, it's like 6,000 or 7,000. So it's going to pay for itself pretty quickly.
And it's just for tank inspection. I guess my question is, how far underground can you use it?
Well, for the crawler part, I don't know that part, but I mean, for the tank, we can do all of our reservoirs with, yeah.
Would it be able to be used like inside a pipeline or something, or?
I think the crawlers would be able to, yes.
Interesting.
But I think we're going to start with that one. A lot of the big agencies like LADWP, San Diego, Met, they all use this company too. So we have a feeling we're going to have good results, but we'll just buy that one first and then see how it goes. So that's the plan.
Is this something that could potentially be shared with sister agencies or
Purveyors?
as an asset?
We talked about that. We're a little, I mean, we'd want to keep it just for drinking water and really keep control over that. But you know, we did demo we demoed in our tank that was not treated, Grimes Canyon. So we thought it was low risk, but I think we'd like to purchase and just keep it ourselves, but maybe.
Yeah, we'd have to explore that and
Sure.
keep some pretty tight reins on it. Address any liability issues with Walt.
Yeah.
He's got his liability face on.
Well. Didn't want to.
His face all the time, just by the way, Liz liability face is.
Be sure to address any liability issues too for this demo in case something went wrong with the rover and it damaged our facilities. So they didn't just walk up and drop the rover into the reservoir.
That's true. Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 80.
Yes, and we have Candace Sampson wrapping us up with item 80 and some career fairs.
Hello, Candace.
Good afternoon, directors. It's my pleasure to expand on item 80. Calleguas recently participated in 3 college internship fairs across the county. Members of our HR, Water Resources, Engineering and Operation and Maintenance departments represented the district at Ventura College, Oxnard College, and Cal State Channel Islands. We were able to share our 3 internship positions with students and academic advisors. The application window for our internships closed October 31st, resulting in an average of 40 applications per internship from qualified candidates. We also assisted students in matching their areas of study with potential careers in water. One of the highlights of our Oxnard internship fair was bringing our current water resources intern who had just finished up her term with us. She was able to interact with students and answer questions based on her firsthand experience at Calleguas. Our goal by attending these fairs is to shed light on the multitude of careers within the water industry and inspire the next generation of water workers. And with that, I can answer any questions you have.
Well, that's pretty cool to have an intern and then turn around and have it as a mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. We're very excited about it.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Candace. Okay, And at this time, would the board like to ask questions on any of the other items?
That's great. I have number 3, 57, 87, 94, and 102. Now if I can just catch up.
Director Robert?
I don't have any in addition to the ones that have already been called out.
Okay.
I've seen a couple, but
So let's start off with item 3.
Yeah, so I just think it's the first part is congratulations, Director McMillan. I know we learned about it last meeting, but I didn't realize that you also had the Delta Advanced Finance Authority. So congratulations, that's a big deal.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And then on the near-term budget drivers, long-term resource planning. I think I had questions about the what is this? Hope for default. Yeah, so reading this in terms of the financial side of it, I'm just hoping that this will be a diffuse portfolio solution to dampen what looks like a larger MWD pass through going forward. So I was just cheering that on, that it'd be very diverse and diffuse. So that's really not questions.
Received.
87?
Okay, 87 is about the drying beds. So I just wanted to know what have we done in the past, and when you get the waste analysis results back, what does that mean? Do we go to a landfill? Is there category landfills we go to? Do we just throw it in trash? Where does it go?
So it is hauled off as hazardous waste. So it would be contracted out, and that contractor would have to be certified, not just to haul, but to remove and then have that chain of custody. We are in that process right now of getting the right proposals and making sure that the vendor themselves are the ones that are going to be hauling, not subcontracted out. So we just going through all that, but right now it gets hauled out to Nevada.
So that's a dumping spot, it's not incineration.
Correct.
We already, right up front, we're designated as a hazardous waste.
Yes. And we went through looking at different options of when to remove it, if it was in a smaller volume, but because of some of the constituents in there, it doesn't really matter what volume we have. We do have to remove it offset.
Okay. I'm sorry, I skipped over 57, which I just wanted to make sure this pipeline condition assessment, this is something that is part of the larger ongoing program anyway, that you guys are looking through the entire system.
That is correct. Yes, that is part of the entire program for assessing condition of bar wrap and welded steel pipe.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Item 94.
And on 94, it's an emergency. Yeah. Okay, I mean, I wanted to know if this was a emergency directive generally, or if it was an emergency directive, we are it.
It was an emergency directive put forth by CISA to all federal agencies in the US. So all federal agencies had to respond. There was a specific timeline that you had to respond by to do the investigation, as well as to do updates based off of the investigations and some guidelines. So where we don't fall into the category of a federal agency, we made sure that we were going ahead and following suit because of the vulnerability that was at play for that particular emergency directive.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And we were totally clear.
Cool. Well, thank you. And then
102.
102, I just said end of Meadows I'm sorry, that I always thought that the end of Windows 10 support date was already done. I think we wasn't.
Windows 10 ended October, right? So it was, it ended October. They've done an extended since then. So it's kind of been a going joke in IT for the IT communities for a little bit is that, in typical Microsoft fashion, they're like, yep, you got to have everything done by this date. And everybody was scrambling to meet that date. And they're like, oh, well, we'll give you a couple more months for some of the systems. So, but no, yeah, that is something that we've been focusing heavily to make sure that we had either upgraded the computers as part of our ongoing upgrades or actually done an in-place upgrade from Windows 10 to 11 if the computers were available to do that at the time.
Very good. Thank you.
That's always. All right, and with that, we're moving on to the September 2025 financial statements. Dan Smith.
Right, good evening, directors. I'm going to go over the September financial statements. So we're going to start off with the water sales, which we have discussed. So through the month of September, we had sold 23,459 acre feet, which is a little bit less than what we had budgeted. It's not too bad. We had budgeted 23,960, so we're falling a little bit short on the water sales, but it's pretty close.
I don't think you can get any closer.
I like it. So how that's resulted, we have the water revenues, which is net of the water costs. We had budgeted at $13.1 million and we're actually at 12.4. So we are, that does result in a little bit less water sales than water revenues because of the less water sales. But we're making up with that because we have some savings with the administrative expenses. We had budgeted 8.3 through September, and we've only spent 6.6. So there's some savings that covers that difference. We've also had additional taxes and interest come in above what we had budgeted, mostly interest. The taxes are pretty much right where they're supposed to be, but the interest is continuing to exceed what I had expected, which is also making up for that difference. So overall, the operating income, because of the differences, we are budgeted at 8, we have 6.4. So it's a little bit less, but it's still looking good. The principal and interest is right where we expect it to be. The savings there is really from the 2008 variable bonds. That is, we always budget that a little bit higher in case interest rates do go up, but they've been going down, which is a good thing for us. It is, we're paying, I think, at 2% right now on our 2008 bonds. So that's a good percent. To kind of look at the month of September, you can see that we were short over the water revenues by $524,000. The cost of water was offset a little bit. We did have some savings there of $175 because we didn't have to buy as much either. And the total operating expenses was over by $185,000, and that was mostly due to legal fees. Adjudication came in a little bit higher for the month of September, causing us to be over budget in that area. So we did have a little bit shortage on the operating income of $534,000. With the non-operating revenue expenses is where we made up some with the interest of the $166,000. We had more interest for this month. And the capital related expenses, we were a little bit short as we spent some money on some equipment. So overall for the month, we were actually short from what the budget was supposed to be by $399,000, which is not that bad, but it's something that is expected sometimes as we go through these months. Looking at that, you would think that this would not be a surprise, but we are increasing our cash still. So our cash went from 184 million to 189 million. A lot of it's on the cash side, and that is mostly due to right now, we're still getting in higher income revenues from our water sales from the previous months, which is offsetting some lower bills that we had to pay Metropolitan. So we are getting some additional cash put in there. And as well as the capital spendings coming along slowly this year. And hopefully it's going to pick up as we start doing some more of these capital projects. To kind of go over our financial ratios, you can see that our current ratio and quick ratio are beginning to tick up a little bit as our accounts payable have decreased, as we made some payments, the receivables have gone down a little. And those two numbers allowed us to have a better ratio there. Again, 7 is way good compared to what's normal for the industry of 1. So we're in great shape. Our debt ratio remains about the same, which is the total liabilities over the total assets. The debt service coverage did drop I'm going to point out that we are budgeted at 2.44 for this year. We're sitting right now at 2.46 through September. This is the time of year where it starts ticking down until we get our property tax coming in late November, beginning of December, which time it will shoot back up to, well, probably close to 3. And then the times interest earned is also ticking down for the same reason. We're spending money so that it's coming in right at this time, but we're still looking strong. With that, that's all I have. Unless there's some additional questions.
Hey, thank you, Dan. Dr. Quay, you have a question?
Sure. I have a question about the debt service ratio, the number that was there, 2.46, and then those who just went through the PFA and you had numbers lower. So is there different time?
Yes. So the numbers that were in the PFA numbers was at the end of 2024, June 30th. That's what's in the financial statements. And we're at 1.9, I believe, at the 1.91. When we get to the financial statements for 6/30/2025, we ended the year at 2.61. And we budgeted this year at 2.44. That's if we spend all the money and revenues come in right where we expect them to. A lot of times we never spend it and the debt service coverage is a lot higher, a little bit higher than what we actually have budgeted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you, Dan. Okay, item 3, state and federal legislative update. Charlotte Hochfeld, Manager of External Affairs.
Sorry. No, that's okay.
Got quite the audience today.
Hello, Charlotte.
Hello, good evening, directors. Just give me one moment here. I think I need permission, Wes. Good. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Great. Okay, thank you for your patience with that. So I'm happy to provide you a legislative update tonight. It's more of a legislative wrap-up, I would say, since the last year. We're going to talk about a few of the bills that were of particular importance to Calleguas. You have your state and federal matrices in your packet and can follow along that way if you'd like. But first, a bit of background. The legislature adjourned on September 12th. They're coming back on January 5th. There were 2,400 bills introduced this year. So a lot of bills, that's par for the course. And about 900 reached the governor. He signed just about 800 of them, 87%. So 13% were vetoed. Before I get to that, I want to just remind everybody that we have 5 state legislators in our service area. And to spend a bit of time on who they are, a little bit of updates on some developments with them. Of particular importance is that Senator Monique Limon will be the new president pro tem of the Senate. Very important position. Assemblymember Jackie Irwin enters her last year of office, unfortunately. Assemblymember Jesse Gabriel, who represents Bell Canyon only, is the chair of the Assembly Budget Committee. And Assemblymember Bennett is the chair of Budget Subcommittee number 4. And that is important to us because that oversees budgets for Department of Water Resources, State Water Resources Control Board. So that is impactful on water agencies potentially. And then Senator Henry Stern is a member of the Senate Natural Resources and Water Committee. So starting out with AB 149. Halloween is over, but golden mussels are still scary. And this has been something that water suppliers have been concerned about this whole year, as you well know. It was detected about a year ago, the first incidents of the golden mussels in the Delta. They have expanded to SWP, not to Calleguas. Water supplies will need to address this. So in AB 149, there was both money and statutory language that expanded the definition of invasive species to include golden mussels along with zebra and quagga mussels. So it's good that there's money set aside for this remediation, but there's more to be done. Want to spend a bit of time on Proposition 4, which was the climate bond that passed a year ago. It is required that a spending plan be passed by the legislature for any funding, before any funding goes out for this bond. The bond, as a reminder, had just under $4 billion allocated for water-related projects, $10 billion total. So in the state budget, the legislators passed $3 billion of the $10 billion, and $1.2 billion is for water-related projects, water quality, drinking water, water resilience, et cetera. So what does that mean for us? That could mean funding for projects. California Natural Resources Agency is in charge of implementing the bond, but there are going to be many other agencies involved. There are 119 program pots of funding. At least 40% are marked for disadvantaged communities or severely disadvantaged communities. There is a dedicated webpage that Natural Resources has. It's excellent. They're doing a great job of pushing out information, which we are monitoring. But it's going to be some time before we see the actual funds because regulations have to be drawn up, et cetera. We are part of a Aqua Prop 4 working group. Had a meeting yesterday, our first one. So we'll be closely monitoring this both for Calleguas and our purveyors for opportunities. This was a win. Senate Bill 394, hydrant water theft. Right now, the penalties are really, really minimal. So this bill really increased them. They really pumped up the financial penalties if there is theft of water from fire hydrants. It was sponsored by Las Virgenes and Aqua, and the governor signed it on October 10th. So that was a great bill. Another good one was Senate Bill 72, having to do with water supply goal setting by Senator Caballero. So that one sets water supply planning targets for Department of Water Resources, and it requires that they identify 9 million acre feet of water by 2040, additional water supply, I should say. So that could be through conservation, groundwater recharge, desal, kind of an open book as to how that's identified. But the rationale is we have planning targets for things like emissions in this state. So we should have targets for water supply as well. Signed that October 1st. This was not a win, but something really important to our purveyors and water agencies across the state with PFAS contamination and water supply. This would have set up the PFAS mitigation fund, helping water suppliers to pay for PFAS mitigation. Unfortunately, the governor vetoed it. I'll tell you why in a moment. But the discussion is that Prop 4 might be a funding source for PFAS remediation funding, and Aqua will likely advocate for this based on the call I was on yesterday. So really, the governor didn't sign it because he said it would establish a new program without a specific source of funding, wouldn't have any impact, rather definitive impact on Californians. So that being said, we'll, hopefully still move forward on funding for this very important issue to many water suppliers. Okay, Assembly Bill 367 by Assemblymember Bennett. I'm going to spend a bit of time on this one since it has been important to the board and our purveyors. I'm just going to outline briefly what the bill does. It requires water suppliers to have access to sufficient backup energy sources to operate critical fire suppression infrastructure needed to supply water for 24 hours for fire suppression purposes. That basically means folks have to have generators in place. It also requires Ventura County Fire to develop safety standards for water suppliers to harden critical fire suppression infrastructure. It mandates Ventura County Fire, and again, this is a Ventura County only bill, requires Ventura County Fire to perform annual inspections of water suppliers to ensure they're adhering to those standards. And then lastly, an after action report in case in the event there is an incident has to go to the Board of Supervisors. Notably, Calleguas is exempt from the bill. It exempts water wholesalers, but of course our purveyors are very concerned. And we worked very hard over this past year with a lot of folks to make it a better bill. So it was us, it was purveyors, there were lobbyists, there was Aqua, very, very involved. And the way that we made it better, I'm just going to go over a few points. Initially, mobile generators were not included as allowable sources of backup power, and that was inserted into the bill. The timeline for compliance is more reasonable, more flexible. It's January 1st, 2030. However, if a water supplier is in a contract to obtain a generator by 2033, if it gets that generator by 2033, it will be deemed in compliance. And this was as a result of a lot of folks saying, we can't get generators, they're not available, so we need time to get them. So he inserted a reasonable amount of time. For those fire safety standards, water suppliers must be consulted on those. That initially was not included, so it makes sense if those standards are being developed, that water suppliers are part of that. And the bill does not apply to non-potable, recycled, or other systems not used for fire suppression. And this was particularly important to Camarosa, and they helped promote that amendment. So those were the ways that we made it better. It's still going to be a heavy lift. I just want to review that it was supported by the Ventura County Board of Supervisors 5-0. It was supported by the largest professional firefighters advocacy association in the state. So at the end of the legislative process before the governor signed it, the only purveyor that remained officially opposed was the city of Simi Valley. Others had removed their opposition because of many of these amendments. So what are next steps? We have to figure out how to implement it here in Ventura County. Those conversations are already starting. Today, I chaired our regional legislative group quarterly meeting, and this was a topic of discussion. How is this going to be done? And one of the ideas was to invite OES and Ventura County Fire to a future meeting to discuss that, because I think they're learning too as to how this will roll out. So interacting with them from the beginning will be important. Assemblymember Bennett has made no secret of his intention to move this bill statewide. So we need to figure out how that would or would not include Ventura County. Would that supersede what happened here? Do we get a carve out? To be determined. So we will continue to monitor and advocate as appropriate on behalf of our purveyors. And yeah, we'll just move forward with this bill. The next one, I'm going to tag team with Walt here because this is a significant overhaul of the Brown Act that will impact your board. So a lot of bills went into this one bill. We're going to pull out the most relevant provisions for you to be aware of. Number one, the bill extends January 1st, 2030, the permissible board remote participation reasons under AB 2449, those just cause and emergency circumstances, and they are expanded under this bill. So they can be used under this bill, state of emergency declared by a locality, not just the state. Beforehand, it was just that the state declared an emergency and remote meetings could take place. But now it says if a locality declares an emergency, that can take place. The remote meetings can take place as well, which is a good thing. It also adds physical or family medical emergencies to the just cause or emergency circumstances, as well as military service. So I'm going to pause there on bullet point 1 and let Walt fill in some of the blanks.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. The first issue, the first sub-bullet about localities declaring an emergency is an excellent addition, because sometimes a locality will be in a better position to know what's going on and declare an emergency. Sometimes the state can lag 1, 2, 3 days behind. And this obviously makes it easier to have a local declaration in a state of emergency and for you to exercise your discretion. The second one, with respect to physical or family medical emergency, the last version of the statute referred to contagious illness or physical or mental disability, focusing only on the board member. So you can see from that language, when it says physical or family medical emergency, it puts more, again, discretion in the hands of the board member to determine what's going on in their particular circumstance to try to achieve a just cause exception. And finally, I thought the last bullet might be of interest to some folks here who have been asking for a military service exemption or interested in a military service exemption for a long time. When you read the statute currently, it only applies to active duty service or people currently in the reserve. But at least it's a step in the right direction to accommodate those who are undertaking military service to get that exemption.
Great. Thank you, Walt. Moving on to the second provision we want to discuss. This one says eligible subsidiary bodies. An example of this would be your board's standing committees can meet remotely under certain circumstances, pardon me. One is that there is at least one physical location for the meeting in the jurisdiction and at least one staff member present. Remote meetings are also allowed only if remote participants have their cameras on. And if the board makes certain required findings, which I will let Walt expand.
Yeah, this is a specifically a new statute added to the Brown Act, not just a modification of an old statute. Previously, teleconferencing was only focused on full board meetings. So now they've made accommodation for teleconferencing for committee meeting, for, let me specify, standing committee meeting. And there are some hoops that have to be jumped through. The board has to make a resolution with certain findings that teleconferencing would help enable public access. The public has to be informed of the board meeting at which that resolution will be passed, which is standard practice for us anyway. But again, the focus is that it allows for teleconferencing of committees and is an added statute to the Brown Act.
With your camera on.
Camera on.
What's that?
With the camera on.
With the camera on, yes.
And so you have to be in the shot, you just.
Meeting, it's been announced, official meetings? Is that
There's a whole new litany of things that need to be complied with to have that type of a teleconference committee. So we're working our way through the statute to figure out exactly what kind of noticing is required.
And that would be regularly scheduled, not ad hoc.
Right, just it specifies standing committees only, basically.
Great. The third one we want to talk about with you is pertains to eligible multi-jurisdictional bodies, such as the Calleguas Las Virgenes PFA. So remote meetings are allowed for those bodies under these circumstances. A quorum of the body at the physical location is open to the public. Remote participants may not receive compensation for attending. And remote participants must be at a location that is 20 more miles, more than 20 miles, excuse me, from the physical location that is open to the public.
So we helped make PFA meeting scheduling easier today with the meeting prior to tonight's board meeting. This will help further allow people to have access to things like the Public Financing Authority. But a little bit of vigilance will be required to make sure that the remote participants fulfill the things like the outside of 20-mile requirement that's specified in the statute. So, but it makes it more flexible for teleconferencing.
Great. The last one, easiest one, the Brown Act must be provided to your board, members of local legislative bodies.
It used to be a may, now it's a shall. So we will make accommodation at the turn of the year to provide you all with your own copy of the Brown Act. My phone is always, I'm always available by phone if when you look at it, you have any questions.
Very exciting.
Very exciting.
Leather bound.
Yes, absolutely. CSDA is having a webinar, an extensive webinar about this on December 10th. I think, Kara, maybe you have recirculated that information. So we can get that to you if you'd like to participate. It's about a 3-hour webinar again on December 10th. And I think it would be worthwhile. So moving on from SB 707, we've talked about the DCP streamlining trailer bill proposal. I know that it didn't make it. We're regrouping as to what our next steps. Assemblymember Irwin was the sole Ventura County legislator to publicly support it. Next steps to be determined, but we did build a very strong Ventura County coalition, including purveyors, business, rec and park, and local governments such as LAFCO to support the DCP. So we shall see what happens next, and we are ready with our coalition to move forward on next steps. And then I'll end with some federal advocacy. Not a whole lot going on in Congress right now, but there's a couple bills we've been tracking. HR 1267 is a PFAS liability exemption bill for cleanup by water and wastewater suppliers. They cannot be held liable for any PFAS that might get loose in the cleanup of it. HR 1871 is a common sense bill, Water Conservation Tax Parity Act, eliminates the federal tax on water use efficiency rebates. It's not much of an incentive to have a rebate if you're going to be taxed on it. So this is a good bill we're eyeing. And then lastly, our request for an earmark from Congresswoman Brownlee for the Lake Bard pump station. She requested $2 million for us. 1 million was put in, and it is to be determined what happens there. So that's what's happening on the federal level. And with that, I will end my presentation. Any questions?
Hey, great work.
Thank you.
I have questions, but I'll let, do you have questions?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know that you worked a lot on a lot of these bills, and although not all of them had the outcome that we wanted, I wanted to commend your effort on these. Really, I mean, you've done a fantastic job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I could follow Director Tebow, Robert on there. Is that of these bills, I'm talking mostly on the state, is that those bills that were not approved by the governor or that maybe or did not advance or those kind of things, those that were not, are those going to continue in some other form later? Is that what we're going to do?
That is a case by case situation, Director Quady. Some of them became 2-year bills. For example, SB 496, the ZEV bill, I know for a fact the author will not be pursuing that bill. But there are others that may roll over if they met all the appropriate deadlines this year. They can roll over. Senator Sayardo had a bill, SB 90, that's not going to advance. So it really depends on the bill. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be vague, but it does depend. Did you have a question on a specific one?
Well, and I would ask this,
Yes.
PFAS bill,
Yeah.
Since the argument was that there is no source of funding, so then is there a alternate bill that could be proposed that says, here's the structure of how we see this could happen? Is that?
That's a very good question. That's exactly what happened with Senate Bill 72. The prior year, it had been introduced by Senator Caballero. It was vetoed by the governor for the same reason that there was no funding attached to it. But when SB 72 was reintroduced, and that's the one for water supply targets, it had $6 million attached to it and he signed it. So if there is funding, there needs to be funding attached to a bill. And if there is Prop 4 funding, that might be a solution as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wanted to say thank you. Great work by you and your team. You guys obviously put in a lot of work to all these bills and the efforts on behalf of Calleguas. I know when we went out to Sacramento, we talked about making regular meetings out there to advocate for things that are in our interest and topics that we care about. I was wondering, when are we planning to do the next one?
We should probably go up in the first quarter of the year. January is like a getting off the ground month, I would say, in Sacramento. So I would say the first quarter would be the best time.
Okay.
And then there is also Aqua DC in February.
That's right.
For those who are interested in participating in that, so.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Okay, general counsel report. No report this evening. Okay, reports. We did have a engineering committee. Robert.
We did. I think all the directors were present. The committee items we went over were power use and generation, update on the regional salinity management pipeline, and the Spring Road turnout repair. It was information packed and a lot of progress on a lot of those things. And I appreciate staff's briefing us on all that.
Thank you. It was a team effort and I was frankly, particularly the power presentation, a very interesting one to prepare as well as present, because I don't think we'd really ever assembled all that information in one place before.
I'm really glad everyone was there. All the board members were there to get it firsthand, even though not everybody could speak. I know a lot wanted to speak, but it was great for all the information to be there. And the presentations were fantastic. Thank you.
And it would have been difficult to pass on all that information. That was quite a bit of information.
Oh, yeah.
That's my happy liability face. Says not everybody spoke, that's fine.
Yeah, I think it was well done and I have a bunch of questions written down on my notes, but I noticed I didn't bring them. So I did discuss a little bit of my questions with general manager last night. So I was satisfied for the ones that I could remember off the top of my head, but it was a technical presentation and I was glad that I was there.
And Akala and I, who could speak, asked a lot of questions, and so thank you for answering those. I know it was more of a presentation, but I guess it became a little more interactive.
I know, going on to the leak detection, Christine did mention the leak detection dog that would be taken care of by the deputy general manager. Is that correct?
I would love to.
It's responsibility in the admin code for every future deputy general manager.
What happens when I leave the meeting early, I guess.
Good. Thank you for that report. And moving on to board member reports on ancillary duties, Aqua Region 8.
Yeah, I attended a regional chairs orientation meeting on November 3rd. There was the chair and region responsibilities. That's a information sense of all the regional members.
JPA?
Yeah, just want to mention that the Aqua GPA captive, the California Water Insurance Fund is now at 8.05% since inception. So as of September 30th, it's at 226.9 million.
Wow. That's great. Yeah, AWA?
I don't believe we've had a meeting since our last board meeting.
Fox Canyon GMA, Director Pakala is not here. Metropolitan Water District.
Yes, October 16th and 17th, was the Delta Conveyance and Design Authority Board meetings in Sacramento. On the 20th, State Water Project pre-planning tour conference call. October the 21st, Agricultural and Tribal Partnership Subcommittee via Zoom. That one's going to be elevated to a standing committee because there's a lot of board members who have an interest in participating in that. And October 27th to 28th, MWD Subcommittee on One Water in the Executive Committee. And then the EOT Committee had a tour of the Colorado River Aqueduct. And it was very eye-opening. Every single link in that system is set to fail. And we've only got like 10 years to get everything replaced and refurbished. And you're going to hear our engineers coming back and asking to increase our biannual budget by 300 million a year. So, well, yeah, it was very dire, but
By link,
we have time.
by link, is that the pumping stations?
It's everything. The housing, the pumping stations, the electrical has to be replaced. That's going to take 7 years just to do that. It's just wherever all the pumps have to be rehabbed, all of them. But they don't want to replace them because the current steel apparently is not as good as the German steel they use for the original housing. So they're kicking the can as best they can down the road, and they have, but we can't do it anymore. We're at that stage.
I just remember once when they said that when you're doing something with one of them, it's like all of them are impacted.
They're all set to fail. That's what we learned.
Thank you, Director McMillan. Next up is LAFCO. We have not had a meeting, and the meeting for this month has been pushed to next month. Canceled. Ventura County Regional Energy Alliance. No meeting.
I don't know of any meeting that's ready to call.
VCSDA.
I was not able to attend VCSD, but our general manager was able to and will be giving out.
Yeah, it was a really interesting opportunity to tour the McCrae Ranch, which is right there at the base of the Norwegian Grate. It is owned by Conejo Recreation and Park District, so they were graciously hosting. You were able to go early to get a tour of the bunkhouse, which does not contain bunks, was just a small cottage, as well as the milk house, where there is a large plywood cow along with actual milking equipment and a cream separator and other things. They have a small display in the museum. Joel McCrae and his wife, Frances D, were both Hollywood actors, but they also ranched out here in Ventura County when there were a lot fewer people in Ventura County. Their property was, I think, as much as 2,600 acres, extended all the way to what is now Avenida de los Árboles. And so it was a really, really interesting tour. And then the Special District Association did their usual business, had the opportunity as well to do Q&A with Wyatt McCrae, who is the grandson of Joel McCrae. So he was present answered questions, told stories about his grandfather that were very entertaining. And then Jim Friedel, the general manager of Conejo Recreation and Park District, did a presentation focusing on the many partnerships that CRPD engages in order to accomplish the many, many things they do, from Casca to their partnership with nonprofits for the Botanic Garden and equestrian facilities, really a wide range of creative solutions to provide great recreation opportunities to the residents of the Conejo Valley. So it was a really great meeting. I'm glad I went.
Sounds incredible. Sounds
Yeah,
great.
no
Able to join us.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, moving on to list of admin code reimbursable meetings. Director Fillon.
Yes, October the 16th, I zoomed into the United Water Conservation District's annual water summit. On the 18th, CSDA grant funding webinar. October the 21st, Aqua's webinar on securing out, that should be our water future. And October 22nd is CoLab's annual meeting at Moore Park Country Club. I only stayed like 20 minutes because I had surgery a few weeks before and I couldn't stay. Anyway, October 23rd, AWA Waterwise Breakfast at Calleguas. I think I was here. I can't even remember. It was some painkillers. October 23rd, it would be the CMWD purveyors meeting. November the 4th, CSDA webinar dealing with mental health disabilities. And tonight's Calleguas LVPFA meeting and the board.
Thank you, Director Fillon. Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, I do too.
Director Robert.
Sure. Since the last board meeting, I also viewed United Water District's annual water summit on the 16th. On the 20th, Port Hueneme City Council meeting, 22nd, CoLab annual meeting. On the 23rd, Southern California Water Coalition had Mike Murphy as a guest speaker who was very informative and very entertaining. About he's the lead Republican political strategist, I think, moderate Republican, and had a very entertaining view on all the happenings. On the 24th, I'm sorry, on the 28th, Metropolitan's Subcommittee on Imported Water. The 30th, Calleguas Engineering and Construction Committee that I briefed earlier. On the 3rd, Port Hueneme City Council meeting and Oxnard City Council meeting, and then tonight's LV Calleguas PFA and tonight's board meeting.
All right, thank you, Director Robert. Director Quay.
Yeah, also on October 16th, the United Water Sustainability Summit. 23rd, the Southern California Water Coalition. Attended the Engineering and Construction Committee, 30th. And last night, the Ventura County Special Districts McCray Ranch Partnership in the tonight's board meeting.
Thank you, Director Quay. And for myself, on the 16th, I zoomed into the United Water Summit. On the 22nd, I attended the Simi Valley Chamber of Commerce board meeting at the Ronald Reagan Library, where I learned that there will be some big changes coming to the Reagan Library, and I recommended to them take advantage of the rebates, redo your turf with partnership with Calleguas, and so I'm gonna keep bugging them about that, and hopefully we get something cool to put out to the public and use as a look what you can do and look what the Reagan Library did.
Put a little sign brought to you in part by Calleguas.
We gotta get them to agree to it.
For a little plaque.
So we had that on that night. On the 23rd, Southern California Water Coalition out of Newport. On the 30th was the Engineering Committee. On Monday, on the 11th, 3rd, I attended zoomed into the Simi Valley City Council meeting and tonight's board meeting. Okay. Discussion regarding upcoming meetings to be attended by board members.
If I could just note that the Calleguas Less Urgent Interconnection Board Tour on Friday, November 21st, we now have a start time of 10 a.m. I also would like to get a head count of which board members believe they can attend.
November 21st.
Yes, it's a Friday,
10 a.m.
10 a.m. So yes, on Avila.
Not person.
Well, that's your only option.
Right.
You will be there in spirit.
Yeah.
I could be.
I expect to be there.
Okay, so looks like we'll have 3 board members. I'll need to check separately with Director Pacala, but we'll need to notice it as a special board meeting then. For which Walt has deputized me as Brown Act monitor since he is unable to attend.
I'll teach her the face.
Can you show us the face again real quick, just for the record? Okay. Right.
Get that on a popsicle stick.
Hold it up. All right. Okay, does anyone from the board have upcoming meetings to be attended by board members? Okay, I'll put one in here, and Director Quady knows about this one. I talked to him about it the other week. I have asked the general manager to set up meetings with our purveyor managers, so we can meet with them and hear from the board. They could hear from us and see that we care, and also hear from them on what they want to see from us. So hopefully we'll see that coming soon.
Yeah, basically invite them to a board meeting to kind of give a brief presentation. So we'll be working on the scheduling on that.
Okay.
It will not happen by the end of the year. We just don't have enough meetings and enough content, but we'll look at embarking upon that in the new year.
Can we also express if they desire to meet with their local board member, they're more than welcome to ask and set something up.
Of course. Which also reminds me, if I should mention that I am speaking at the Conejo Recreation and Park District Board meeting tomorrow night. It starts at 6 o'clock at their headquarters. So I did let Director Quady know, since that's his district. It's also Director Pacala's district, but he's in South Africa. But obviously any other board members are welcome to come see. It'll be a very brief presentation and Q&A. I also assume it's streamed if you wish to view that one.
All righty. In case, the next one up is a request for future agenda items. Do we have any future agenda items? None. Board member comments? None. Informational items. Has everyone had a chance to view the informational items? The Turner County Special District Association newsletter and a congratulatory letter from Calleguas Board President to the new general manager at Metropolitan. Up next, we have the closed session. I'll go ahead and call for a 5-minute break and moving on to closed session. So with that, we are closing the open session and opening up the closed session. Okay, closed session, no action was taken. For the report, that was it. And with that, I am closing the closed session, opening the open session, and we are